Welcome to LaunchPod, a product management podcast brought to you by LogRocket. Today, our guest is Isabel Petty, head of digital product at TUSHY, a modern and sustainable bidet company. Isabel received her Master's of Technology Management degree from the University of California, Santa Barbara, after which she became a category manager at Walmart and then joined Gritwell, a virtual health clinic in growth and product development. Before her current role at TUSHY, she served as a senior product manager at Pattern Brands. On today's episode, LogRocket's VP of Marketing, Jeff Wharton, talks to Isabel about how important digital leadership is in product and the problem-solving strategies Isabel has employed to grow product, how TUSHY uses humor as a marketing strategy to tackle and normalize bathroom taboos and solidify customer trust, and how TUSHY's poop tracking app was created to detect early signs of colon cancer and promote gut health as a way to continue to scale TUSHY's product offerings. So here it is, our conversation with Isabel Petty.
Hey, Isabel. So glad to have you on. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into it.
So let's just kind of clear this out of the way from the very beginning. The company is TUSHY, but the website is hellotushy.com, right?
Yes. Do not go to tushy.com unless you are in the safe space of your home, not safe for work. I think it's a rite of passage for everyone who joins the company to either go to tushy.com or send their parents to tushy.com.
There we go. So fair warning to anyone listening. If you want a bidet, it's not tushy.com. It's hellotushy.com. Now, normally I don't go into kind of like company background at all, but I think we have to. Like, can you just tell us the quick little, hit and run on what TUSHY does?
Yeah, so TUSHY is the modern bidet company. TUSHY pretty much invented the bidet space here in the United States. The very long story short is that we have two amazing founders who experienced bidets growing up and traveling abroad and kind of had this aha moment, like, why is this not the standard in the US as it's the standard in bathroom culture in every other country in the world? So they created the first iteration 10 years ago, and we've since, sold nearly 3 million bidets. We have multiple models. We've expanded into accessories, toilet paper, candles, toilet sprays, and a lot more to come. So yeah, I'm super excited. I've been at TUSHY for a little bit over a year, and it's been a wild ride.
Nice. And you're not designing the physical products, right? You're on the digital side.
Correct. Yeah. So we have an amazing in-house physical product team, and then I oversee the digital product. So website, any technical integrations, anything that engineering resources are needed for.
Nice. And we almost got to meet. We had an event in New York a couple of weeks back, and my understanding is you were going to come, but you had something just a little bit more important going on that day. You got married, right?
I did, yes. Slight change of plans. For the record, not a last minute marriage. It was purely that we decided I got married in California, where my now husband and I are both from. And we just decided to fly out a few days in advance, earlier than planned. So I was very bummed to miss it. But as someone who loves her job, but can definitely get consumed, I had to set up some boundaries, like wedding, one-time thing. There will be other networking events.
We'll be back in New York. You're probably not going to get to fly off early for your wedding ever again. So glad you did that, but we'll have to meet up again sometime soon then. All right, let's jump on into it. Normally, we kind of do a little bit of a warm up. I like to kind of understand this one, especially is, product is super nuanced. It can be anything from really in the weeds, designing and building, up to very strategic, setting the course of a whole company. How do you, if you're kind of talking to, some of those folks, and you might run into this more than others because of the physical space you're in, how do you kind of describe to the non-tech initiated what a product leader does? Like, what is your job? What does product do, and how does it serve the company?
Yeah. When a company or a team wants to create a product, whether that be a new website, a car, someone has to be kind of the ringleader, bringing everyone together and deciding what's the game plan, what's the timeline, what colors is this car going to be? Is this going to be a car with windows? How many seats is it going to have? And the product manager gets everyone on the same page, kind of prioritizes those requirements, and then gets the team to execute through launch.
Cool. And then speaking of kind of product, I was just talking with Carlos over at product school, and we're kind of bemoaning the fact that you can go to school for engineering, you can go to school for marketing, as I did, you can go to school for finance, but product seems to be the one that is kind of holding out. But you kind of did. I mean, so you're a bit unique on the show here. You went to school, you got your master's in tech management over at UC Santa Barbara, and you said like a pretty high number of people go directly into product from that. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So to back up a little bit, my story is I got into my dream school, UC Santa Barbara, going to college on the beach, and they did not have a business program, which is I always wanted to go into marketing. That's where I thought I would take my career. And so instead of, I think the options were either like economics or communication, I chose to study in undergrad, a personal passion of mine, music studies. So I studied vocal performance those 4 years in undergrad, never intended on becoming a professional musician, but still had a great experience. Always planned to go on and get my MBA. But UCSB had this new program called the Technology Management Program. I completed the undergraduate certificate course. The story goes that there was a group of professors from Stanford who created and were part of a similar program, and they all wanted to retire in, the adult version of Disneyland, which is Santa Barbara. So they decided to create the same program in Santa Barbara. I'm not sure how true that is or if that's just myth, but I love the certificate program, and then discovered that they had this 1-year master's program. So of course, 1 year versus 2 years in an MBA, that was enticing. But knowing that it was still business courses, but with a technical emphasis, that was super intriguing. It was actually part of the College of Engineering. One of the kind of initial ideas was teaching undergraduate engineering majors the leadership skills to go on and lead technical teams. But they realized pretty quickly that non-STEM majors got a lot of benefit as well, and went on to roles like product management, where you don't actually have to be an engineer by training, but having the ability to like bridge the gap between technical teams and the rest of the organization is what they were kind of really teaching us. So yeah, it was a great experience. And I believe they say about 25% of students go on to become product managers. And it was very much, I didn't even know what product management was before joining the program. It was very much a coincidence, but I think within like the first 2 months after learning about this, path, I was sold.
Nice. Yeah. It's great to see the world being opened up a little bit more for education that helps you get ready for this stuff. Like I remember I went to college and graduated over 20 years ago, and, marketing courses were already outdated by the time you graduated. Like there wasn't a single thing, even a thought about online marketing, but the idea of building a software product didn't go any further than, as a software engineer, you will code something. I think that's about as far as education got. So it's great to see, the idea of product beyond Tom from the office space and into like a real productive, value adding member of the team. So I love seeing the kind of growth of this whole space here. Moving a little bit from that though, I read everything I could that you've written, and there's some cool stuff. But one thing I saw that you had talked about was this idea of like prioritization being important in product. And I think that's so key because, right, you can't, especially in a startup. I mean, you guys aren't, you're not Oracle, you're not 100,000 people and have time to do every single thing every way you want to. Sometimes you need to figure out, right, like, am I solving this thing with duct tape or am I solving it for permanent? And you have this framework of, short-term and permanent solutions. And can you maybe walk us through that a little bit? And like, how does that work? How do you look at that?
Yeah. So it's one of my big mantras, I think, for product in general, but definitely in my roles and at TUSHY for sure, is like we all have to remember what the ultimate goal is here. Really grounding the team, because as you mentioned, issues can stack on top of each other and not everything can be high priority. You have to be able to keep, as a product manager, you have to be able to keep your head above water and prioritize very quickly, real time. So an example of kind of this short-term, medium-term, long-term solution is, TUSHY, we're an e-commerce company. We recently wanted to run a promotion that was 3 tiers. So like spend $100, get a free candle, $200 free toilet spray, $300 free ottoman. And despite, tests and QA going off without a hitch, when we went live, there were a few bugs, like customer would either not see the product reflect in cart, or maybe 2 products would get added. And we're live at this point. Like, there are ads running. This is a planned promotion. There's revenue tied to this. So how do I prioritize? Number one, there are ads running. We've promised a gift with purchase promotion. Immediately make it a one-time gift with purchase. So just, all orders over 150 get this one gift. Now, is this promotion 24 hours? Is it 7 days? If the, length warrants, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and see how quickly we can get this back up and running as planned. I try not to let my developers work on one bug for more than 4 hours, because the benefit just starts to not outweigh the work that you're about to put in. So in this instance, we were able to get it resolved and back live within 24 hours. But the permanent solution here would actually be, number one, build a stronger product that doesn't break once live. But number two, this was very much a test. It was the first time we had run this product. So a lot of it was hard coded. If it did end up performing well. So the next step, the long-term permanent solution, was let's build this capability. So an e-commerce manager, someone who's not a developer, can go in, set it up, customize it. Do we want to do 3 tiers, 2 tiers? What are the thresholds? And so we don't have to always rely on development resources when we want to run this.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So it's great to see how companies kind of like duct tape something together and then bring it together for real, because it's so inherent to, the growth company and startup idea is like, sometimes you just gotta fake it and, not to use a trope, but fake it until you make it.
Absolutely.
We were talking to Susan Stavitsky, who's over at CarMax, and she talked about they were building like a ability for people to check in when they were coming to sell their cars. And they didn't want people to have to come in. It was the height of COVID, and they didn't want people to come into the building. And so they wanted to be able to do it remote. And the first solution was they literally put a QR code up, had people scan it. It took them to an Airtable form. And then literally it was just them behind a curtain inside, manually entering the data as someone put it into this form. But you do what you got at first to spin things up, right? And then you figure out, like, does this have legs? Let's make it, the medium term, or let's make it the permanent solution. So how do you think through that? Like, what's the kind of value judgment there to say, like, this is the thing we're going to do right now. We're going to solve it for good, and we're never going to deal with it, to versus just like, we just need some duct tape and glue and good luck right now?
I have a bias to building lean. I think probably every product manager should, and probably says that. But I have found that I really push my stakeholders and my leadership team, like, we don't know if this is going to work. This is the first time we're doing it, and it's going to take how many of my developers? Yeah, there's no way we're investing more than a few days into this. So understanding, is it a test? Is it a one-time thing? Or is this a long-term goal? And then breaking it up into those iterations. So what's an MVP look like? What's a V1, V2? What are those success criterias? Another way to describe that is what's a must-have and what's a nice-to-have, what's launch critical. I think, like typical startups, we don't start the work for like a new promotion or a new product launch really more than like a month out, at least on the website. Of course, physical products, those take months to develop, but we have a very lofty roadmap. And so I can't really start thinking about things too far in advance. So when we're a month out, the world is our oyster. How many, I want there to be an animation here. I want there to, when it adds to cart, it tells the customer how many trees they've saved by making this purchase. But as we get closer and closer, then you really start to think, okay, what's actually launch critical? What's a must have? And it is interesting how that mindset changes, just how far away you are from launch. If you're pre-launch, we need all of these things. It's a requirement. But if it was supposed to be live yesterday, now what's actually a must-have?
Right. And how easy is what to build, right? So is it safe to say that maybe toilet paper was the temporary solution that just stuck around a little too long, whereas the bidet is the permanent solution now?
I need to look up the history of toilet paper and how that was created, because it is, I don't know if anyone really thinks much about it after it gets flushed, but like that all goes somewhere. We did at one point have like a sustainability calculator on the website that calculated, okay, how many people in your home and how many bathrooms do you have, and that would tell you how many trees you're saving. But we do sell toilet paper, and that's what I thought you were referencing, because a lot of people see that and think, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. Obviously, when you use a bidet, you're clean, but you have water on you. So the toilet paper is, bamboo, as sustainable as possible, 3-ply, highest quality. And it's meant, why we've invested so much time into this like luxury TP is because you really don't need a lot. You're just patting dry when you use the bidet. So that was the strategy there. For the rest of society, I cannot speak for. I know like what, our largest bucket, when you look at the data of how did people find out about Tushy, the number one bucket is always friends and family. Yeah. Once people try the product, they can never go back. They gift, they're gifting these products to everyone. We have a lot of evangelists out there. Every once in a while, we'll meet someone in a social setting and mention, I work for Tushy, the bidet company, just to clarify. And oh my God, I feel like a celebrity. They love it.
I mean, you guys kind of are. You were even on SNL. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, no, it's been truly a wild ride. So much to come. It's been such a fun role.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be honest, the toilet paper on the website did throw me off for a second, but I kind of, internalized for a second. I was like, that's probably fair. Like you're not just walking away and kind of still wet. You do need to do something, but it makes sense. So cool. Okay. So we've gone over this pretty, deeply so far, but Tushy is a bidet company. This is clearly, even though you said 3 million.
Yes. Nearly 3 million.
Nearly 3 million.
Yeah.
Still far from probably, the peak of that kind of mass market adoption curve area. So, you talked about the biggest thing that drives people is, recommendations and friends and family. How did you kind of discover that? Like, I guess describe to us how you guys are kind of doing regular user feedback here and understanding exactly that kind of thing. Like, how do people discover it? How do people want to know about it? Because to be honest, pooping is not really something that people love to talk about publicly. It's not for public discourse, most would say.
So I'd say most people discover Tushy either by traveling abroad, because like I mentioned, almost every other country in the world, this is the standard in the bathroom. We are definitely the weirdos in this sense, but traveling abroad and trying it, a lot of people, oh my God, why doesn't this exist? Where can I buy it? You look up, bidet USA, bidet attachment, and Tushy's right there. Also, trying at friends and families' houses. And then a lot of children of immigrants, people who grew up with a bidet or have family from a country that use a bidet is, I'd say, the largest bucket. Then you've got the sustainability folks who are looking to cut down waste. And then we have a really awesome brand team. When I first discovered Tushy, I was blown away by the humor and the presence on the website, the social media, the way that the team is able to break down those barriers and talk about something that's so taboo. I mean, we sell t-shirts that say, "Ask me about my butthole" on the website. Like,
I saw that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to check out your website. Like, it's fantastic. It is. My 8-year-old and 11-year-old would love it. And I also found it like quite tasteful for the jokes you were making and like very tongue in cheek. It was fantastic. Whoever wrote that, really good, but people definitely got to check it out. And again, it's hellotushy.com.
Yes. Hellotushy.com. Yeah, no, the team is amazing. And when, you asked about user research, and we have multiple teams that do user research based on their department, right? I'm doing a lot of user research, whether that's speaking to customers, looking at session recordings, looking at the data, reviewing CX tickets to understand, okay, how is the website coming across and where can we improve? The brand team, the marketing team does a lot of research to determine how are we positioning new products and marketing campaigns. And then, of course, the physical product team as well looks at like, how can we improve existing products and what are we missing that consumers are looking for? So there's so many different, ways to talk to the consumer. And especially working for an e-commerce company, I'm very fortunate that they're easily accessible.
Yeah. And do you find it tough to get people to open up about, their toilet habits, for better or for worse, or like their proclivities around that?
Yeah, not in Like not typically, because again, I look at the data that from the website, or we'll set up customer interviews with people who fully are aware and know what the topics are going to be. But with researching the app, the digital app that I'm working on for the company, that has been a little bit more difficult. A lot of sleuthing on the Reddit boards to find out like what customers are looking for in the market. Which is totally understandable. I mean, I think a lot of people don't want to slap their first and last name when talking about these things, especially when getting vulnerable and sharing like their frustrations in the bathroom.
Yeah. It seems like there's a big talk in a lot of medical studies around nutrition that actually asking someone about their eating habits is probably not going to get you accurate data. And this smells like one of those kind of areas where you might run into the same problem where people are going to paint a more idealized picture of what they need than actual if you're not careful. So
yeah, I mean, we've done customer interviews, but you're right that a lot of people, when they know they're being asked, when they know that they're being sometimes watched, if it's recorded, they want to be professional. They want to be more careful about what they say. So I find a lot of benefit from looking at like Instagram comments, reviews on the App Store, obviously Reddit, as I mentioned. I get a lot of information from those places.
Nice. I just got a little giggle because I thought about people acting differently when they recorded, and then it hit me afterward that you're not talking about recorded using the product. You're talking about recorded talking. I was like, yeah, so this is a great product to talk about. I kind of love it. There's so many possibilities. So, okay. One thing that I'm kind of curious about here is we had a guy named David Lopresti on several weeks back. He runs the basically product for the mobile applications over at U-Haul. And there's way more parallels here than I think people will think about between trailers and trucks and bidets. And the number one thing is just the market needs education. Like it's very likely that you're in the middle of setting up your bidet, or maybe first time you've run into it. How do you use it? What's the process? How do you not have it, squirt onto your, out into the bathroom, or, other negative things that could happen, or even just how do you put it on the toilet? And he had a really good focus kind of around how do you get this education in a very natural seeming way, just in front of the user when they need it, not that they have to go searching for it. How have you all thought about that? Because that's definitely something I could see, setting this thing up and kind of running into like, what do I do here? How do you kind of go about usage and setup and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely from different angles, right? Because we want to build out those touch points at every part of the journey. So it really starts with advertising, social media presence. When some customers first hear about Tushy, we want to make sure that it's very clear what the product is, what they're looking at. Is this a toilet? Is it a toilet seat? Oh, what's a bidet? So ensuring that's very clear at that first touch point. And then you get to the website, and that's really where maybe 50% of the education happens, because of course we're convincing customers why bidets are the way and why a Tushy bidet is the best. So we actually just released a toilet compatibility quiz where customers can either take the path of selecting their toilet model and brand, or just visually selecting like, oh, this looks like my toilet. Yes, this is the setup I have. And it will tell them which bidets they're compatible with, because we do have some that attach up to your hot water system. So only certain setups would have that. We have one that requires an outlet. So depending on your setup, it'll tell you which is best for you. We also have a lot of course, educational content across the website, a lot of videos. We've tested into like bringing more of the user generated content from social media onto our website. If something does well on our Instagram page, we'll bring that onto the website. And then the last part is after that purchase is made, now installation support. A lot of people, that is a big barrier, is how am I going to install this? I'm not a plumber. Our bidets take anywhere from 8.5 to 10.5 minutes to install. They're very easy. Everyone at the company has done it multiple times. And so, all over our packaging, we have instructions. We have QR codes that take you to, online videos or blog articles. We have a lot of different videos on social media that walk through the installation. And once people do it, they realize, oh, this is a lot easier than I thought it was.
So kind of going through all this now, kind of getting to the point where, I think we skipped a step here. We're talking about, how you educate people once they kind of buy and how they get on the toilet. But maybe if we back up a little bit, how are you getting people to do that? Like, what are the kind of growth things that you've really tried here that, on the digital side that you found work really well? And maybe even better, like what's one that you maybe deserved to go in the toilet because it just didn't work?
I'd say, okay, I'd say that the outcome was positive, but I do kind of kick myself with how long it took us to get here. So as I mentioned, our bestseller model, the classic 3.0, it's just one temperature. So it hooks up to the tap water behind your toilet, and then you adjust the pressure. Then we also have our spa 3.0. So this has both cool water, but also warm water that you can hook up to your sink. And gosh, for the first 6 months that I was at Tushy, the amount of questions that our customer support team would get about where does this warm water come from? First, it was a lot of questions of like, where does the water come from? Is this dirty water from my toilet? God, no, that's disgusting. This is fresh, clean tap water from the pipes behind the toilet. But a lot of people, where does this warm water come from? And we put the copy in the description in so many different places, but as many people in e-commerce know, nobody wants to read anything. So one day I go up to my head of creative and I'm like, I think we need to take a photo with like arrows pointing to where does this water come from? It took us maybe an hour to set it up in the office because we do actually have a shootable bathroom in the office, a full bathroom setup that we use for photo shoots. But, took an hour to set up, edited the photos, and immediately there's like a 90% drop in tickets. And it was that simple, like literally a photo, infographic style with arrows saying, this is where the water comes from. So yeah, I can't believe how long it took us to figure that out. But one kind of exciting, more growth focused idea that we worked on for installation support was we actually do offer one-on-one installation support on our website for purchase. So you can, it's $15 to add on to your order. You can get 30 minutes one-on-one video call with one of our support agents, and they will walk you through the entire setup right there, holding your hand. And then if, for whatever reason, your toilet isn't compatible, they'll support you through either a return, exchange, or getting the spare parts that you need.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess people are going to be worried about this. So any way you can like reduce that kind of fear of messing up or feeling incompetent probably helps. So
yeah,
cool. So, kind of going through that, I guess my one last kind of question about just the product setup here is, and you alluded to this earlier, you don't sell just bidets. There's a whole array of stuff. I mean, let's forget the t-shirt that I really wish I had gotten and was wearing for this right now. But you have stools, you have smells, you have all sorts of stuff. Where did the idea behind kind of the full life cycle package like that come from? Like, how'd that come to be?
I think it kind of starts with you launch this product, it takes off. We launch more versions like the warm water. We have now an electric luxury model that has a warming seat. We just launched literally today 2 new non-electric bidet seats. So now these are bidets that will replace the entire toilet seat, and the bidet is built in. And saw a lot of excitement for those. But I think immediately being a startup and having a lot of like growth mindset people, a lot of the teams like, what's next? Where can we go from here? We don't want to just change toilet culture. We want to change bathroom culture. We want to be the go-to product that changes the way that the Americans go to the bathroom and spend their time in the bathroom. Something that, our brand team discovered was a lot of people view the bathroom as their oasis, as time to get away from the day-to-day, whether it's just your 9 to 5 or maybe during the holidays, you need time away from your hectic family. So how can we create this oasis experience in the bathroom? And so that's where a lot of those scent products came from, right? The candle, we have the toilet spray, the bathroom spray, the stool, the ottoman was an early kind of iteration as well. And that kind of comes more from like a health and wellness perspective. It's actually much healthier for your body to be in that position with your knees higher when you're going to the bathroom. And that, I believe, also came from other cultures that are going to the bathroom in this position regularly from childhood. How can we make that the norm in the US?
That's actually a great segue now because, I know we've been talking about the physical piece a lot, but you're mainly focused on the digital. And there's a whole world of stuff you guys are working on that's not even really like out in the wild yet. You are putting together, the company's building a poop tracking app. Can you tell us about, I don't mean to laugh because I realize it's like actual medical stuff behind it, but like what was the thought behind, how did you guys get to the idea of we're going to go from making a toilet attachment to an app to make people's, butts healthier?
The initial kind of light bulb moment of this was when we discovered that cases of colon cancer in patients under the age of 55 have doubled in the last 30 years. Colon cancer is unfortunately on the rise, specifically in patients under the age of 55. Mm-hmm. And obviously that's very concerning. Being kind of the expert in this space on all things bidets and butts, a lot of the team was like, what can we do here? Is there a tie-in? Can we help people here? And early research that we did showed that you actually can identify early signs and symptoms of colon cancer just by looking at your stool. So from there, that's how we got to poop tracking app, right? I actually started doing research on competitors. Are there poop tracking apps that exist? If, there are, and what are the pain points that customers are having with these? That's where I dove a lot into the Reddit boards and learning about, toilet anxiety and IBS sufferers and how a lot of people like to track their stool because it can reveal so many insights about their health. Microbiome, gut health, they're so trendy right now, but do people ever think of like what's in the gut, what's in the microbiome? Well, it's poop. So it definitely makes a lot of sense to follow like where the consumers are going and where the industry is going and see if we can help solve here.
Now, first of all, I don't think I would do very well at your company because I'm laughing every time we're talking about poop. And I'm basically just still a 10-year-old in a much older body, it feels like at this point. I'm realizing today. But it is like serious health stuff. And, it's interesting to see it being tackled. And again, back to like having a great kind of verbiage around this and stuff. One way you can open people up to it is to make them feel comfortable by making it more casual. And I think the site definitely does that. But I guess looking at this, right, as you're going to build it, what do you think about, what do you build first or what's necessary? Because, right, if you're going to build something with a health app and maybe, some network effects necessary, it's kind of a minimum you need to do. But also there's a lot of, as soon as you say health in the name, there's, I'm sure, regulations that just kick in left and right. So how do you kind of weed through all this? Like what does the actual product process look like here to put something like this out?
So this is very much a big swing, right? We are, like I said earlier, I have a bias to building lean. So this will be an MVP. We had a lot of meetings of paring down, okay, what's the must have? What is the most basic version of what this app needs to look like to test if customers are actually interested? So there's, of course, having that mindset of this is going to be a lean version. Let's, take it easy here. But also we have partnered with a development agency that specializes in health tech mobile apps because this is so new for the company. They're going to be helping us through, like the user research phase, UX UI phase, and getting that first version launched. But yes, there's definitely additional concerns once you add in the word health. I think any industry, especially if you're direct to consumer, any role is going to have like legal implications that you have to consider, right? There's constantly new consumer privacy laws being released that we have to think about on the website and make sure we're up to date. So it's not that different from what we do on the website, but we will be partnering with medical practitioners. So there, of course, is extra sensitivity when we're dealing with health information. But fortunately, we're not reinventing the wheel here. There are a lot of health and fitness apps, wearables out there that have set a path that we can at least follow for the initial version.
And then, kind of thinking deeper about this, right? are going to follow, is the plan to follow through kind of the humor into it? Because it feels like, again, that's something that can kind of diffuse a little bit of the, white coat anxiety. Not quite, but let's go with that just as a close enough. But I guess, is there more to it than the humor is meant to diffuse, or is it just you guys kind of like poop jokes?
I think there's probably a little bit of both. The initial strategy there was, being such a taboo topic, we have to break down the walls here. We have to make people more comfortable. So the humor definitely addresses that. And for a lot of people, it's a delightful moment. They're laughing as they're shopping and they're discovering if they want to make a purchase. Some people, it's totally a turnoff and they're like, this is weird. I'm not going to be making a purchase. So I think with the app, we're going to be both balancing a little bit of humor, but also this is a new arm for us. This is health and wellness. This is going to be medically backed. So a little bit more of like that superiority, messaging and testing that out. But like I said, this is very much a test. If the initial version takes off, the opportunities are endless. We could develop our own stool, like at home stool test. We could build hardware into the bidets that connect with the app. So it's not manual. Do we, invest in like AI image recognition? A lot of opportunities. We're trying to, again, take it slowly and then evaluate each as they come.
I was actually going to ask, like, is there opportunity to kind of build coordination between, the bidet and the app? Because it seems like something you could put a sensor into and very quickly you could do value add. And I think equally quickly you could do probably not functional value add, but, life value add where, maybe it reminds you like, hey, are you hiding from someone? You've been here a while.
There's definitely opportunity to also work in some hardware technology. Obviously, hardware is a much longer life cycle, so we'd have to take that into account.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, as we're kind of hitting the end here, I have one kind of big meta question before we wrap up. This has always struck me as funny, is right. This whole we laugh about it. I've joked about it throughout the whole session today, but this is a topic where it's both like literally children's books are written, everybody poops, and yet it is so taboo to talk about publicly. Where do you think that comes from, where it's such a vital part of our health and our lives, and yet at the same time, just no one wants to talk about it, and you guys are kind of breaking barriers just by even having it very blatantly on the site and kind of, making humor about it and having it just right there in the open?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about branding, right? Like, I guess poop just got a bad brand back in the day because that's been how we've kind of tackled this, is by like developing an identity around this market and making people more comfortable. Your earlier question about like strategy and how you prioritize, we always have like a goal for one of our OKRs for the company is always around brand and brand vision and how do we develop that. So that's something that's always top of mind, that not just the marketing team is working on, but every team is leading up to this brand vision. So I think it's about, being strategic about how you communicate this, because we're very comfortable talking about poop, but maybe we don't call this a poop tracker. Maybe when this rolls out, it's called something totally different, a microbiome tracker or something, because gut health, microbiome health, those are so trendy right now, but they're trendy because they're important. So they're not going anywhere. There's still a lot of runway. We're really excited to be a part of it, but it will definitely be a learning curve.
Or maybe, maybe you lean in and it's a strategy of just go for it and you can get banned from the New York subway system again for ads.
Yes, that's true.
That got you guys a lot of awareness. So, that seems like a great strategy.
All right. Have that article framed in the office. Yeah. It's a very prideful moment for the team.
Oh, yeah. I don't watch all SNL all the time, but I make sure to check out Weekend Update pretty regularly. And the fact that y'all got talked about by Colin Jost and specifically Michael Che was, I think that would be the height of my career. I don't know what I would do after that. I'd have to quit, retire and go do something else. So, all right. So, I don't want to keep you all day. You got, a lot of important stuff to do. But if people look and want to follow up about about product, or they want to learn either A, about your product, or B, talk to you about how you kind of approach this stuff or, have follow-up questions, what's a good place for people to find you? Is it LinkedIn? Is there anywhere else?
Yeah, LinkedIn would be the best place. Yeah, I try to make a point to stay active there.
Nice. Love it. Cool. Well, thank you so much. It was great having you on, Isabel. I really appreciate the time and learning about all the, both poop and non-poop stuff you guys are working on. So hopefully next time we're in New York, we'll see you.
Definitely. I will be there. Thanks.